I thank the member for Fowler. Is the motion seconded?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I second the motion, and I'm in fact delighted to support this motion by the member.
I'm sorry, I call the member for Menzies.
The member for Fowler, that condemns the Daesh campaign of war crimes and genocide against Christians, Assyrians, Manadeans, Yazidis and other ethnic and religious minorities in Iraq and Syria, and goes on to commend those nations who continue to support the people who are fleeing the violence. Madam Deputy Speaker, since 2014, the so-called Islamic State, or Daesh, have been carrying out a campaign of terror against various ethnic and religious minorities in Iraq and Syria. And there is clear evidence, over and over again now, of mass murders, torture, systemic rape, kidnapping, sexual enslavement and a series of other crimes. A number of parliaments, as the member for Fowler pointed out, and government agencies have declared the actions of Daesh to be genocide, including the United Nations Commission of Inquiry on Syria, the United States Congress, the US State Department, the European Parliament, the Council of Europe, the UK House of Commons and the French Foreign Ministry, amongst others. The UN Human Rights Council also condemned the systemic violations and abuses of human rights and international humanitarian law committed by the so-called Islamic State. On the 13th of March 2015, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights reported that, and I quote, "It is reasonable to conclude, in the light of the information gathered overall, that some of these incidents may constitute genocide. Other incidents may amount to crimes against humanity or war crimes," unquote. On the 16th of June 2016, the UN Commission of Inquiry on Syria concluded that ISIL is committing genocide against Yazidis, and I quote, "ISIS has committed the crime of genocide as well as multiple crimes against humanity and war crimes against Yazidis, thousands of whom are held captive in the Syrian Arab Republic, where they are subject to the most unimaginable of horrors." And indeed, a series of other reports have come to a similar conclusion. As the honourable member for Fowler pointed out, there have been motions and resolutions from a range of jurisdictions around the world. To quote from one or two of them, United Kingdom House of Commons motion said this: "This House believes that Christians, Yazidis and other ethnic and religious minorities in Iraq and Syria are suffering genocide at the hands of Daesh, and calls on the government to make an immediate referral to the United Nations Security Council with a view to conferring jurisdiction upon the International Criminal Court so that perpetrators can be brought to justice." In a similar manner, there was a concurrent resolution of both the House of Representatives and the Senate in the United States Congress, which stated, first, that atrocities perpetrated by ISIL against Christians, Yazidis and other religious and ethnic minorities in Iraq and Syria constitute war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide. Two, all governments, including the United States and international organisations, including the United Nations and the Office of the Secretary-General, should call ISIL atrocities by their rightful names: war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide. Three, the member states of the United Nations should coordinate urgently on measures to prevent further war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide in Iraq and Syria, and to punish those responsible for these ongoing crimes, including by the collection and preservation of evidence and, if necessary, the establishment and operation of appropriate tribunals. For the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, the Lebanese Republic and the Republic of Turkey and the Kurdistan Regional Government in Iraq are to be commended for and supported in their efforts to shelter and protect those fleeing the violence of ISIL and other combatants until they can safely return to their homes in Iraq and Syria. And five, the protracted Syrian civil war and the indiscriminate violence of the Assad regime have contributed to the growth of ISIL and will continue to do so as long as this conflict continues. That resolution passed by the United States House of Representatives on the 14th of March of this year. Similarly, there have been motions by the European Parliament which expressed its view that the persecution, atrocities and international crimes amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity, and stressed that ISIS, or Daesh, is committing genocide against Christians and Yazidis and other religious and ethnic minorities in the region. Similarly, the Council of Europe passed a motion condemning in the strongest terms recent terrorist attacks and the ongoing activities of Daesh perpetrating acts of genocide and other serious crimes punishable under international law. And as I said, the French Foreign Minister, Laurent Fabius, said on the 25th of March 2015, we are witnessing a true genocide, one that in particular kills and enslaves or exiles people who don't think like them. And finally, to add to the list, John Kerry, the Secretary of State for the US, said, in my judgment, Daesh is responsible for genocide against groups in areas under its control, including Yazidis, Christians and Shia Muslims.